Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to our folks that are joining us for our third series of digital courseware series. My name is Anthony Bloom. I'm the Executive Director of the Mobiles for Education Alliance, and we're delighted that you can join us from a variety of locations to really hear this exciting opportunity for us to talk about our friends from and affiliated with Respect, a new digital public infrastructure for education with the number of colleagues that are associated with the project. We have a very packed agenda with a number of terrific individuals that will be walking through the Respect in the recent launch that actually took place. At FE&I and the M Education Alliance, we're delighted to be at the Semestea campus, along with our friends from AUDA-NEPAD and Semestea, with 600 other attendees, many ministries of education, where the official launch of Respect took place. And we conceived of this courseware seminar as an opportunity to share that presentation that took place in Nairobi in June with those that are joining us today. So thank you so much. Jim, I'm just going to walk through briefly, or did you want to introduce the people as part of the run of show?
I will just, let's see, who have we actually got here? I think I'm going to introduce everybody as they come up, and that will do the trick.
Okay, well then, Jim, I'm delighted to turn it over to you as the CEO of the Spix Foundation. Sorry. And as a friend of the M Education Alliance for 2 years, Jim. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Jim, I was just going to say that we've been delighted to have this relationship with Spix Foundation and you and your colleagues, and really excited to be part of this whole Respect initiative. Jim, I'm going to turn it over to you, and then as you go through, you could just introduce individuals. I see Barbara, I saw John, I saw Monica, I saw Alfredo. I don't know if I saw Knut, but maybe he's on board. Oh, he is there, so everybody's here. Over to you, Jim.
All right, in which case, everybody's here, so we'll take it away. Welcome to this webinar. My name is Jim Plamondon, and I am CEO of the Spix Foundation, which is a proud member of the Mobile Education Alliance. So thank you for joining us. Now, by the end of this webinar, in just 60 minutes, we hope that you will join us in believing that by 2030, every African K-12 student will learn from the world's best courseware. The host had spotted your video for everybody. Great. Sorry, the message popped up. We'll learn from the world's best digital interactive courseware developed in Africa by Africans who profitably export that courseware. This is the goal of AUDA-NEPAD's recently launched Africa EdTech 2030 Vision and Plan. Again, Africa's students learning from the world's best courseware developed in Africa by Africans and exported to the world by 2030, just 5 years from today. Well, this goal is obviously very ambitious, but it is grounded in reality. AUDA-NEPAD has developed a plan for accomplishing the vision's goals. And to discuss that vision and plan, please allow me to introduce Barbara Clover from AUDA-NEPAD. That's the African Union Development Agency, New Partnerships for African Development. Barbara, take it away.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you all for coming. My name is Barbara Glover. I work for the African Union Development Agency. AUDA-NEPAD is the development arm of the African Union, and our task is to help Africa realize the Agenda 2063, which is our 50-year blueprint of the Africa that we want. Within that agenda, education is seen as a very important deliverable. And so we are excited about our EdTech vision and plan, which is a result of various strategies and policies that have been released and approved by heads of states and governments, including the Science, Technology, Innovation Strategy for Africa, the Continental Education Strategy for Africa, the Continental Technical and Vocational Training Strategy for Africa, and the Continental Digital Education Strategy for Africa, all signed off by our Ministers of Science and Technology. Our plan is actionable. It has identified policy and some of the key areas that are needed to be able to drive education technologies across the continent. It has also identified what are the technological barriers that have kept African EdTech from flourishing. And so we want to look at an actionable plan that can help us to be able to address and lower these barriers. And we believe that this can be done by the people who are listening to me right now here today. Now, when you look at the plan, which was launched last month at our conference on STEM education in Nairobi, you would realize that we identified two new tools. First, we are looking at how we can lower our policy barriers, and we did this by looking at a policy framework for standard-based, vendor-neutral EdTech. We wanted to understand why EdTech fails on the continent. What are the issues? How does policy help to address or lower some of these barriers? And so we released this framework that we hope to shape and finally launch at the next African Union Heads of State Summit in February 2026. Secondly, we want to also lower the technological barriers for EdTech adoption. How do we visualize a digital public infrastructure for education where we are lowering these barriers by looking at how a platform like Respect can help us to meet our educational targets and goals. Although this is new, every new thing comes with new ideas and challenges and ways to solve the issues on the continent, but we are focusing on ensuring that once we implement this EdTech vision and plan, through platforms like Respect, which we'll be speaking about in the next couple of minutes, you get to understand why we believe this is a viable tool for Africa's socioeconomic development. The adoption of these tools is also to solve another problem, which is the absence of rich data that can inform EdTech implementation and harnessing across the continent, and how we can utilize that to improve learning outcomes for our students. How can we, in this day of AI and digitalization, how can we utilize some of these existing data to drive educational transformation on the continent? And so I call on all of you that are listening to me today, those who are present in Nairobi and those that are listening to this for the first time, to engage us on how we can shape this vision and plan. We want a realistic vision and plan. Give us feedback. It's on our website if you have any ideas on how we can further shape this and what are the platforms that we can utilize to meet some of the goals and targets that we have. I look forward to hearing from you in this discussion and any other fora that brings up some of these issues to guide a continental vision and plan for educational technologies. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Barbara, for that call to action and for your and AUDA-NEPAD's leadership in developing the Africa EdTech 2030 vision and plan. Next, I would like to invite John Kimotho, the head of Trinity Education Technology Associates, to discuss the Kimotho project. This project, funded by the Spix Foundation and managed by AUDA-NEPAD, led the development of AUDA-NEPAD's Africa EdTech 2030 vision and plan and led its associated EdTech policy framework. Thank you, John, and good afternoon to everyone. I'm sorry, I just said the wrong thing. Over to you, John.
Thank you, Jim. It was not the wrong thing, but we can say good day to everyone because people are in different time zones. But this is the beauty of technology, that it has come to lower the barriers of distances and even barriers of time. So, dear colleagues, we are all in the EdTech world. And indeed, we do understand EdTech. And the thing that struck us is that over the last 60 years, there has been a lot of efforts for EdTech to become what we visioned it to be those 60 years ago. A technology that will bring resilience in education, a technology that will bring us education anytime, anywhere, and of quality. But then it has not been. So under the Kimotho project, we started by asking ourselves, why hasn't it scaled? And when we were asking ourselves why it has not scaled, we decided to carry out a study. And that study, we were able to talk to like 15 countries in Africa and other countries in low and middle income resourced countries. These are the barriers that we found that have really been sitting on the hand of education technology, and it has not been able to scale. This begins with data desert, that we do not have data being generated by our EdTech that can help the ministries of education and the other entities be able to know how to move and even the interventions to bring in place. And then when you look at the 4 policies that we have across like the 55 member states of AU, they are all different and they are looking at things from a different point of view. So we realize that the policies are fragmented, and hence asked, how can we have a policy that would guide into the vision that AU has under AUDA-NEPAD? And then we looked at the tools and we realized that whatever EdTech tools we are having, may it be school management, Courseware, and other EdTech solutions, they are all working differently. And therefore the users get fatigued as they move from one to the other, have to do log out, log in, and that was bringing a challenge and still remains to date a barrier. Then there is the issue of connectivity, that we are living in a world of digital divide. There are some countries where the connectivity is so poor, and every EdTech solution that comes along demanding connectivity then becomes zero from the word go. And then the commercial viability of countries thinking about going EdTech have to look for projects. Then the projects have are time-bound, have to go through a tendering process. By the time the tender is done, then the technology is expired. They end up getting a project that could have courseware that has licenses. Then the licenses become a problem, and therefore it is like you have taught people how to take sugar, and then the sugar disappears immediately. So all these are the barriers we found out. And after finding these barriers, we went ahead to think together with AUDA-NEPAD out of their vision and developed what we call the policy framework for advancing standards-based and vendor-neutral EdTech in Africa. And that framework now, together with these identified barriers, are there to help us overcome all these barriers and make EdTech realize the vision that it was envisioned to give, so that we can all meet our promise of being able to have good quality education anytime, anywhere with resilience. Over to you, Jim.
All right. Thank you very much for that, John. And I should mention that since this presentation was first given in June, based on his not just 40 years of experience in the EdTech industry, but his hard work on the Kimotho project and the research involved, we ended up hiring John to be the head of our new office in Africa, which should be ready to accept visitors in a few weeks. So you'll probably all be getting invitations to that in the not too distant future. So thank you, John. Now, last month, I then, at this point in the talk, officially launched Respect. So it's already an entire month old now, a little longer than that, actually. And so that leads us to the demonstration, which was originally done by Mike Dawson. But I think, John, you're queued up to do that demo. Is that correct? I sure hope so, buddy.
Now,
great.
What we'll do, we'll be able to provide the link to the Respect alpha version within a week, and everyone will be able to go through it. Thank you.
Great. All right, so we're not actually going to show it, but I want to discuss some features. At its core, Respect is a platform that provides technical services to Respect-compatible EdTech apps. Those services include single sign-on, which makes it easy for teachers and students to all use Respect-compatible apps via a single password, fingerprint, etc. Also, shared rostering, which keeps track of which students are enrolled in which classes. These are all defined by very standard user interfaces. There's also a technology layer that makes it easy for EdTech app developers to write one version of their app and have that same version run online, offline, and the much harder case, intermittently online, where sometimes you can afford the data and sometimes you can't, and it saves up any data you would have sent back and forth and sends it up to the Ministry of Education when you do get connected. So it's a very difficult problem, but we managed to solve it. So, but this is not a developer-focused conference, where I won't go into the technical details. I want to talk about two other features, though. One is called easy text localization, which makes it easy for independent local language experts, like the local third grade math teacher who speaks a language that isn't one of the colonial languages and isn't a majority language like perhaps Swahili. And that person can then localize the course into their language, into their script, and to some extent, is limited by text, into their culture. We've got that working today in the version that shipped last month for one software development tool chain. And so if an app's developers happen to have used that same tool chain, then easy text localization works. By version 2 next year, we'll have it working across the top half a dozen developer tool chains, which ought to cover about 80% of the courses out there, because that's a really important feature people ask us for a lot. The next feature that we'll have working in version 2 or maybe version 3 is easy curriculum map, so that once you've got your app mapped to a particular curriculum, we can do the magic to get it translated, localized to any other curriculum for which we've developed curriculum support. There are roughly 200 curriculum jurisdictions across Africa. That may seem like a large number, but Nigeria, for example, is a federated system in which each province has its own curriculum standards. So there's significant work to be done there, which is why I say it may take until version 3. But those two features will dramatically reduce the barriers to scaling up apps across the continent, and particularly Africa's best EdTech apps. We don't want to make it easy to scale lousy apps. We want to make it easy to scale Africa's best apps. All right, so Respect was designed around 3 scenarios. One is where only the teacher has a smartphone. We're actively seeking Respect-compatible EdTech apps for this scenario. If you have some teacher training apps that you think should get wider exposure, we're really interested in those, because this is a very common scenario. But for teacher training, for professional development, for teaching a class using a small projector, things like that. Very common. We need to address this. Another very common scenario is scenario number 2, the homework only scenario. The teacher has a smartphone and the student has access to a smartphone at home, right? It may be one of the parents' smartphones that they only loan out with considerable trepidation. But that's the scenario that you'll see in the demo when we show you the demo. It is a very common scenario across Africa, and data trends suggest that it will be even more common over the next 5 years before 2030. And then a scenario that's still rare is the in-class scenario, where there's a computer lab at the school that's stocked with tablets. Maybe it's one tablet for one student, maybe it's one tablet for 3 or 4 students, but nonetheless, there's a tablet in the classroom that the students can use. So we support all 3 of those scenarios. In all 3 scenarios, Respect works the same way. It scales up smoothly from the teacher-only scenario across the homework-only scenario to the tablet lab scenario. So it can be used in all of a country's schools, from the highest resource urban school to the lowest resource rural school. It covers all of it. Connected, online, offline, we got it covered. Now, generating sustainable revenue as an EdTech developer is really hard. As John mentioned, the procurement cycles are very long. So many developers in Africa and around the world can make great EdTech apps, but generating sustainable revenue is a challenge. So we have a business model that we hope will lower that barrier. The first step is collecting data every time a Respect-compatible app is used and every time a student's progress is assessed with a Respect-compatible assessment tool. So every time there's an interaction between the app, any app that's Respect-compatible, and the student, that data is collected and sent off to the Minister of Education in a way that makes sure that its privacy, its security, and its data sovereignty are all respected. In parallel, we send ourselves the absolute minimum information that we need to get in order to rank the different apps by usage, so that we can have a league table that ranks all of the third grade apps based on which one is used the most. On the one hand, usage is a proxy for quality. On the other hand, we hope to have actual impact metrics later on, but we have to just start with usage now because that's easy to track. But once we can track usage, we can pay the developers based on usage, just like YouTube pays its content creators based on how often people watch their videos. Same kind of deal. The second step is that we need to get paid so that they get paid. In the short run, we're hoping to get donations from philanthropies to carry us up to where we have enough eyeballs that we can start to attract corporate donors. We're not selling ads, a very important point for legal reasons. We are accepting donations from corporate sponsors whom we then recognize in a donor acknowledgement that kind of looks like an ad if you don't know the legal issues involved. Hey, I didn't say that. That's important so that we're acting like PBS, the public broadcasting system in the United States, which collects a lot of money from corporate sponsorships and recognizes the corporate sponsors in their various ad-like things, donor acknowledgements. And we expect to show one donor acknowledgement a day that's focused on the parents rather than the kids. And it says, today's education brought to you by AT&T, or whoever the local mobile phone carrier is, or the local manufacturer of dishwasher detergent, or who knows what, right? But not cigarettes, not advertising, not debt instruments, not cigarettes, not alcohol, not debt instruments, etc. Right? There's a whole bunch of things that the public broadcasting service does not allow in advertisements to kids, PBS kids, and we're going to just lift up their rules and regulations wholesale and just adopt them into respect. So it's a totally kid-friendly environment, just like Sesame Street, Reading Rainbow, Arthur, Curious George, etc. So that model makes all respect-compatible courseware free. No licensing fees, no contract, no bureaucracy. Ministers in education can just choose it and use it. The more that a respect-compatible EdTech app is used, the more that its developers get paid by Respect. You can think of Respect as the YouTube of EdTech apps. Anyone can submit their EdTech app to Respect, but it'll be rejected unless it meets the high technical requirements of the Respect compatible program. So that's how developers of Respect compatible apps get paid. But where does the money come from? Well, I just said that, in sponsorships using the PBS model. Now, we expect that some of the sponsors early on will be that country's Ministry of Education, UNESCO, the Gates Foundation, etc. So it's a very brief message, shouldn't get in the way at all. Yep, I'm going to skip right through that because we're trying to get this done ahead of schedule. And okay, we understand that ministries of education already have what are called Education Management Information Systems, abbreviated EMIS. Maybe it's Open EMIS, maybe it's DHIS2-ED, maybe it's a homegrown EMIS. That's very common. It's our job at Respect to make it easy for all ministries to have Respect interoperate with whatever EMIS a ministry already has. So to do that, we commit to developing an interoperability bridge between Respect and whatever EMIS your ministry is already doing. That's unusually easy for us because we're exporting data, sharing data in an internationally standardized format called XAPI. We've started by targeting the fastest growing EMIS in Africa, which is DHIS2-ED. So to tell us about DHIS2-ED, here's Knut Staring, Program Coordinator of the University of Oslo. Are you there, Knut?
Yes, thank you very much, Jim. Yeah, so DHIS2-ED is built on top of DHIS2. which originated as a health information system platform and is today used by all these countries in blue, which you can see go all across Africa and well beyond. So it already tracks health information on hundreds of millions of people across the continent. Because of that, we were asked whether the same system could be used to track education information also. So a few years ago, we started working on that and adding the ability to track education information, and the result is DHIS2Ed. And as Jim said, it is now the fastest growing EMIS in the continent. We're very excited now to partner up with Respect, because the work on DHIS2Ed and the work that Respect is doing complements each other really nicely. So while Respect will then gather very fine-grained information about the use of all these various EdTech apps, DHIS2Ed, which is the government system, the EMIS system, consolidates this data and makes it accessible and actionable to decision makers at various levels up to the ministry. So together they become a very powerful combination. And this integration is done through an interoperability bridge. So I will hand over to Alfredo Muchanga, who's the Chief Technology Officer at Saudigitus, who can tell us more about that connection. Alfredo?
Yes, thanks, Knut, and hi everyone. Well, we've been working on the DHIS2 implementation for many years here at Saudigitus, and we've been working on the education and other sectors. And one of the common requirements that we receive during the implementation is the need of linking the different systems that exist on the different countries that we work in. And one of the biggest challenge that we face during this process of linking the different systems is the lack of harmonized standards to send the data from one system to another one. But when we received the invitation to develop this bridge to link DHIS2 and Respect, we faced a different scenario on this project in particular, because the Respect platform is following the XAPI standard. So XAPI is a standard that allows systems to share the data in a very well harmonized way. So because of that, it was very easy to implement this bridge between DHIS2 and the Respect. So it was a very good experience for us, not only technically in terms of system development and writing code, but also on seeing how this work can improve the quality of the education management information system by bringing the data from different action points and bring it to the centralized way and accessed by the Ministry of Education. But this was just the beginning. The bridge between DHIS2 and Respect was just the beginning. The plan now is to move forward and implement other adapters to link Respect with other systems. So if you do have a custom-made system in your own country, or you have another kind of system, please feel free to reach the Respect team, and they will be very happy to work with you in order to link your EMIS and Respect, and making sure that the data that is being collected by the teachers and the student is going through the decision-making process and platforms. Yeah, thank you for stopping. Knut, back to you.
Thanks, Alfredo. And in addition to the technical part, one of the unique advantages of DHIS2 is a network of on-the-ground technical experts in a network that we called HISP. And to discuss this HISP not HIPS, but HISP network, and the role it can play now with respect. Monica Amuha can tell us more.
Yeah, thank you very much, Knut. So talking about the HISP network, I think there are over 15 HISP partners spread across Africa. So if there isn't any HISP partner in your country, there should be one next door in the neighboring country. So for over 30 years, HISP partners have been providing local technology, training, and technical services to Africa's ministries of health. So this local support makes it very easy for ministries to stand up DHIS2 systems, integrate them with ministry operations, maintain them, and train staff in their use. Now with the DHIS2 Ed, we are very excited and respect this HISP network is expanding its focus beyond health to embrace education too. So over the next few months, we've actually already started. The Spix Foundation will start training selected HISP network partners on how to provide these same local technical services to the ministries of education. So standing up respect systems, integrating respect into ministry operations, maintaining them, and training staff in their use. So that means that the Spix Foundation is really going to make it easy for ministries of education to get the local technical support that they need to have to embrace the AUDA-NEPAD's EdTech vision. So Jim, over to you.
Great. Thank you, Monica, Knut, and Alfredo. Folks, please do stop by their booth next time you're at a conference where they are to get a demo of DHIS2-Ed, the fastest growing EMIS in Africa. Now I'm going to call on John Kimotho once again to close this webinar. John?
Thank you, Jim, and thank you everyone for the contributions to this webinar. Now, we have talked about respect. Jim has explained how the barriers are lowered and the scenarios that are going to be there. Right now is to just discuss or let you know that at the moment we are looking at respect as a DPI. We are looking at the vision, the AUDA-NEPAD 2030 EdTech vision and plan. We are looking at the policy framework, and now respect as a DPI, and noticing that there is no continent that has been able to put these 3 items in place the way we have done it in Africa. That means then, as we move ahead, looking at deploying respect in various countries and looking at the continent as one market, you are going to realize that as a more-sided platform, respect is taking care of the developers, taking care of education managers, taking care of teachers and learners, but most important, let us look at how it takes care of the EdTech developers. By getting revenue based on the usage, then we will all be competing to give the best of these EdTech solutions. In the process of making the best EdTech app, then we are making Africa ahead of any other continent in giving the best EdTech solutions to the ecosystem of education. We are therefore seeing by 2030, we are moving from a very low usage of EdTech to a very high usage of EdTech, and also a very quality usage of EdTech, and moving from just being a key player to an exporter of this EdTech. We are therefore looking at it and saying to you, all of you, my colleagues, my friends, we have been with you in education for the last 40 years, actually in education technology. And today, we are working with Kenya, Rwanda, Burundi, Ghana, the country called the Gambia, Malawi, Namibia, South Africa, and even Mozambique, who are Portuguese speaking. We are in Eswatini, talking to Mauritius as well as Burundi, Liberia, Cape Verde, and even Sierra Leone. The question I'm asking to you now is, as a stakeholder, as a person holding one of the signs of the multi-sided platform that is respect, because we are not competing with any of these sides. We are simply housing, making it easy for everybody, making it easy for the developers, for EdTech solution owners, making it easy for education managers. Please come and join us. Let us do this together so that we can make it the way we are thinking about it, reaching the vision that Africa has with EdTech. Thank you.
All right, thank you, John. And with that, we have kind of rushed through this in 37 minutes, which took us 115, I think, or rather 75 in the previous version. So that may very well have left you with questions. Fire away. I think Effie's going to monitor the questions, but please don't be shy. Start asking questions and we'll make up answers. I mean, we'll answer them.
And Jim, there are some questions already in the chat that I wanted to draw your attention to. So Jennifer had one, for example. Jennifer, do you just want to jump in and ask your question?
Hi, sure. Thanks so much, guys. This is super exciting. Congrats, Jim and John and the whole team. Amazing work, and we're thrilled to see again. You know, I know we've talked previously about this work. Exciting to see all the progress that's being made. So congratulations on that front. I was curious to understand a little bit more about again the process by which the tools, the EdTech apps that are coming onto the platform. How will we be able to be sure that those are producing really great learning outcomes, that they're sort of aligned to the highest standards? I had tagged Natalia in here, the great team who's doing work around the International Certificate of EdTech Impact in Education, or something like, Natalia, you'll have to correct me, I'm forgetting what the acronym stands for, but they're doing amazing work around this, this certification and making sure, again, that we have some alignment around what does good look like and how do we ensure that, you know, the products that are going out there to families and to teachers and to young people are of the highest standards. So yeah, would just love to hear a little bit more on your thoughts on that side. Thanks.
No worries. Our expectation is that in the first round, we'll be doing the evaluation of Respect compatibility ourselves. The Respect compatible app logo means that it meets the technical requirements of the Respect platform, right? So that it does the things that Respect apps are expected to do. It interoperates, shares data in the right format. It uses single sign-on properly. These are technical requirements that everything must do to be Respect compatible. We do not impose quality standards on anybody because nobody can agree what quality means. I have seen half a dozen different EdTech indices and edu evidences and various different metrics of quality. Some insist that if you're doing foundational learning, you must teach phonics. Others say whole word is fine. The definition of quality is ambiguous. So our proposal is that if you've got an EdTech standard, a quality standard that you would like to see EdTech apps support, then you need a certification program. And if you have a certification badge and a database of which applications have been certified by your app, our database can talk to your database and we can indicate that that badge has been awarded to that application. All right, so we're going to put it back on you because we just do not want to be in the quality business because everybody else's definitions vary so much. Jennifer, does that work for you?
Yeah, thanks. And yeah, I mean, I think this is the work that Natalia and team have been doing. So I don't know if you want to jump in, Natalia, and to share a little bit about kind of how you've been trying to think about aligning across all of those different, like you mentioned, Jim, so many different certifications. I think the work that Natalia and team has been doing has been trying to align across all of those different certifications and then create that common definition of good. So it might be a good place to connect the dots on these.
That's right. Yes, thank you, John. Appreciate the plug, and very nice to be part of this webinar. And listen to Jim and colleagues, how they've been envisioning this project, that I very much applaud, and really kudos to you all for getting this off the ground. This is so much needed on the African continent. It's excellent that the work is progressing. I'm really big fan, so well done. And hi, Knut, lovely to see Norwegian colleagues here. So I'm based at the University of Stavanger in Norway. We've been receiving support from the Norwegian government to develop the platform that allows for this API communication between different providers of quality information on different EdTech tools. So there is a technical solution in place that could be leveraged here. But for people who don't know about how this works, I'll give a brief overview. Essentially, what a research consortium has been doing over the past 5 years has been to consolidate the different quality markers that exist on EdTech. As Jim rightly pointed out, there is a different understanding of what we mean by quality across different nations, within different research teams, and there has been an ongoing concern in EdTech evaluations that we don't have a common language, we don't have a common framework. So the idea behind EduEvidence is to use a consolidated benchmark that allows for this common language. It doesn't mean that we define quality in only one restricted way, but rather that we gather all the different quality definitions within an umbrella that allows us then to speak with each other and to respect these different quality markers. So what EduEvidence has been supporting has been really to allow for this quality communication to be happening in a streamlined manner, so that we don't need to be exchanging Excel sheets with different certification criteria, but that we have this API communication. And indeed, there are...
Please forgive me. Nikita, I'm going to cut you off there. We would be delighted to have a webinar about EduEvidence in future, but I want to get on to other questions. So EduEvidence has a certification program which Respect will honor either by having our database talk to your database and showing certification badges, which I know EduEvidence is very big on, or potentially just using the community notes feature that we expect to have so that people can search for notes that say this app has been certified in the following way by EduEvidence. So we fully support what you're doing, and we will be incorporating it one way or another, but not as a Respect quality standard. We can't do that. Fair enough?
Absolutely, right. And I very much value that approach.
Yep. So Tony, if you could queue up the next question.
Yeah, and I was going to say, for those that have resources, please send it to us. When we circulate the video of this webinar, we'd be happy to include it. I also, hey, Jen, just want to give a shout out with EdTech East Africa. So if you do have a question, please just introduce your organization as well as part of it. I'm actually going to invite people to raise their hands or just jump on in terms of their questions. Knut, you were elaborating. It looks like somebody had asked you. Knut, was there anything else that you wanted to respond to in terms of a question before I turn it over to Andrew and John? Knut, I just saw that there's a comment from you in the chat, or maybe it's a comment to you from Bushnell. Or did I catch you unaware, Knut, because I'm looking at the comments? So what we'll do is let's go over to Andrew. Andrew, with the 1 billion, please introduce yourself and ask your question. Great to see you, Andrew.
Yeah, hi, Tony, and lovely to see so many people on this call. I had a question. You talked about a sort of an initial login for the child. How do you see this working and still being compatible with the data protection legislation, which is wide over Africa now, and which really, for sensitive data, fingerprints, biometrics, requires individual parental consent, which is extremely difficult to give. How are you going to deal with this serious issue?
Yes. the serious issue, the answer is seriously. Now, that's a question that I'm going to have to punt to my chief technical officer, Mike Dawson, with whom I gather you have interacted before. He's been in this business for quite a while, as you guys have, doing great work with 1 billion and 1 tab and 1 course and so forth in Malawi. You know, in the West, there are programs like Clever.com and ClassLink and Lunda that solve this problem by having a scannable QR code hung around the child's neck. That probably doesn't work in Africa. Mike insists that he has a solution that is reasonably good, but it is an issue, and I don't claim to have the answer on that. What do you do with one course?
Oh, well, we don't do it. We won't work on any device that has biometrics because of the serious data concerns we have.
Yep. But on the other hand, does that, when a child connects to using one course on a tablet, does it move them to the next lesson? Does it keep track of where he is in the lesson or anything like that?
No, we take a completely adaptive approach. So I think it's a serious issue, and the thing is, we have to all make sure we are compatible with legislation.
Yes.
And that's paramount.
Yep. I totally agree. We're taking a two-pronged approach on this. One is by working with the African Union. We've got the new policy framework in place, and in some cases, we're looking at things that would be changing the law or recommending that the law be changed. A classic example is federating the data. If we look at healthcare, for example, HISP, it gathers a lot of health data on people, and it's very careful to follow all the rules and regulations. And then that data is federated up to the continental and, in fact, the global level, so that it can be used to identify early outbreaks of diseases here or there, because, of course, those health problems are a crisis. Well, I think it's reasonable to say that education is a crisis, in Africa particularly, but really in the low and middle income countries generally. And so a crisis-like response may be necessary, that loosening some of these laws may be required in order to address the crisis. While student privacy is a very, very important goal, is it more important than getting the kid educated? I don't know. And so if we have an African Union-wide response to that, that'd be great. What I suggest, Andrew, is that the vision and plan is still under, I'm pretty sure, what day is it? I'm pretty sure it's still open for public comment. I encourage you to look at the African Union vision and plan and see if it's got anything in there about data and consolidation and privacy, and make sure your thoughts are in, because that's a very good observation. And thank you for it. Let's get it into the public comment. Does that answer your question as well as I can here, Andrew?
It doesn't really answer my question, but
I know it doesn't.
I think that the thing is, it's beholden on us all to take children's digital rights extremely seriously, and we can't have sensitive personal data about children flying around the world. So this needs massive.
I totally agree. Yep, yeah. Totally agree with that conclusion.
And
okay.
I see
Tony?
John has it. Well,
Yes.
Andrew, I was going to say, really important point, maybe it's even a topic of the next webinar, digital courseware, to have some of these macro level questions. John, I see your hand raised. I do see that there's a question also from Bushnell about when will the app get on the Play Store. But John, I'm going to acknowledge your hand raised, turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. And the interaction, the more we talk about it, the better it becomes even for us. I wanted to bring to the attention of everyone that if you go to our website, you are going to see our concept note, respect concept note. That will guide you as to exactly what are we doing at the moment. We start by having a co-creation workshop with the Ministry of Education in the specific country. And in that co-creation workshop, we are even able to discuss with the regulatory authorities on what are the most important EdTech apps that need to get into respect. And therefore, as we get into working with the country, planning for a pilot, going into the schools and to the teachers and the learners, then we are working with the ministry, knowing very well that what do they like most. But I also want to contribute in terms of data, that what we are doing is that we have looked at Africa the way we were when we were doing the policy, and 48 countries have very clear data protection laws. And therefore, data sovereignty is a very critical part of what Respect is looking at. And therefore, every data remains in the country, within the ministry, not even within us, but within the ministry, so that the ministry can be able to do with their data the way they normally do it, within their laws. And therefore, we are not getting into looking at children's data and the rest. That is an issue with the education manager, so that they can deal with it. For us is, how are the EdTech apps being used? How many are using them? At what time and what length, so that we can be able to deal with the EdTech app developers. Look at the concept note, see how we are moving along, and then we can be able to continue interacting. You are always welcome to book a meeting with us. We can always have a discussion one-to-one. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Jim, do you want to address the issue of when will the app be available in the App Store? And Jim, I'm also going to turn it over to you. And do you want to describe a little bit of the timeline arc of some of like the next steps where you see major rocks in terms of Respect rollout?
The current focus is getting the app ready for two things, which is for a number of upcoming pilots, which will start in the not too distant future, possibly September, more likely October. We got 2, maybe 3 pilots that are going to start around then. And for that to start, it's got to be on the Google Play stores, not just the Respect app itself, but also at least 2 Respect compatible apps. So we expect to have the Respect platform and at least 2, preferably 3 Respect compatible apps done, I'm told, by the end of this month, which is only a couple of days away. I think it's more realistic to say by the end of the first week of September, but imminently. Next question.
I'm just following some of the comments in the chat as well. I appreciate the set of questions related to AI. They're generic, and so I don't know if they'll be specific here, but actually I'll
give you a quick answer.
I was going to, Jim or John, go ahead.
Let me jump on AI. We don't know how fast Respect, or rather AI, is going to move, or how slow it's going to move, or more importantly, how quickly it's going to be available on the low-end phones that tend to be about 5 years old, according to our studies, in rural Africa. I mean, a lot of rural Africa is only now shifting from feature phones to low-end 5-year-old smartphones. My top-of-the-line Samsung phone, wherever I put it, oh, it's right here, shining in. This was a absolute top-of-the-line phone a year ago from Samsung. It can't do AI of any significant power. And therefore, 5 years from now, even if this phone is the standard phone in rural Africa, they won't be able to do AI. And AI is a real data burner if you're connecting to it over the internet. And so even if it is available on the phone, if you've got to connect to the internet to use it, okay, that's another big barrier. So we've isolated things off to the side through APIs. So if you've got a course that's Respect compatible, that's great. We're not going to require you to use AI. We're not going to bar you from using AI, right? It's totally orthogonal to AI. Localization. It may be that a local person localizes the app to their local language, culture, script, etc. That's what we expect is going to be the case for a surprisingly long time. There's 3,000 languages in Africa, and most of them have a deep base of text information that the AI can ingest in order to train itself how to emit that language. And so we're trying to bring up the low end of the digital divide, not extend the range of the upper end even higher, right? Thus widening the divide. So we've written Respect with AI in mind, but without relying on it in any way because we just can't count on it in rural Africa within the next 5 years, which is the vision of the project. All right, I hope that answers that question. Next.
Thank you, Michelle. Natalie, thank you for the recommendation that colleagues be aware of the Learning Cabinet initiative that UNICEF is supporting. But I would also say that's indicative of, if you're aware of good app developers, I'm going to turn this over again to Jim and App. What is your takeaway? And we're going to ask you 2 parts before we conclude in a minute. Jim and John, if you're a developer, what's your takeaway that you want them to know about Respect? Who should they contact when?
Yep. Let me answer that, John, because I can do so very rapidly. They should contact Spix Foundation by LinkedIn or any other social media saying, hey, I've got this app. I'd love to have you include it in the second wave apps program. Because as soon as we've got this stuff ready for the pilots and it's on Google Play, we will be focused on writing a software developer kit for developers to make it easy for developers to target Respect. And we will have that second wave program starting probably around Christmas, New Year's. And that'll give everybody, January, February, March, April, May, June, 6 months to get their apps ready for eLearning Africa, which will be our big momentum event.
Thank you, Jim. I'm also really excited that our colleagues from the Ministry of Education of Liberia are on board. Cisco, you and your colleagues have been great champions of this initiative. Could I give you 1 minute? Why are you so excited by this, Nathaniel? Says, why about Respect? Just 1 minute.
Yes, I'm so glad to be on this call, and we are excited about the collaboration that we've seen so far with Respect. Most importantly, this will be the first year that EdTech will be pooled in our schools, and that will be a huge revolution for Liberia. We think it is a great move to promote the president's arrest agenda. One of the components is to ensure that all young people are tech friendly, and John and Jim and the entire team, Nina and the rest of them, they've been doing excellent work with our team. And we are really excited that in a couple of days from now, our students will be using EdTech to do their work. And that EdTech will really be the one from Respect. So Respect is the official app that Liberia will be using. And I'm excited about it. The entire team here in Liberia is excited about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathaniel. And
as we are excited to work with Liberia.
There you go. And I was just going to say that in terms of the developer, there's a path. If you're an implementing organization familiar with networks of developers, our role is to help disseminate the word. And then if you're a policymaker, want to thank AUDA-NEPAD for their leadership with this initiative, John, the Kimotho project, and then Nathaniel, you and your colleagues that are helping test this initiative. If you'd like to meet the Spix folks in person, I have an event for you. If you're not already familiar with, they will be attending in all their full 3D, perhaps 4D glory. If Jim moves through time, we'll figure out how we do that past, present, and future in one session. So we'll have 4D at the EdUcation Alliance Symposium that will be taking place in October. I've dropped the link. It's a great forum. In addition to most of the Spix team being there, it's also just a great forum for us to share conversations and ideas, including important topics, Andrew, like you just raised. I know you'll be there about the importance of data privacy. The one other document, and Andrew will be there. And I also, the Courseware series started with our providing some information about the Digital Courseware for Africa report that the EdUcation Alliance produced with Spix Foundation support, with input from John Kimotho, Peter Joyce, and others. So I just dropped the link for that as well into the chat for the Digital Courseware report. Effie, as we conclude, is there anything that you wanted to say on behalf of the EdUcation Alliance?
Well, besides inviting people to our global symposium, which you already have, I'd say stay in touch with us. You can reach us at EdUcationAlliance.org on our website and across all our social media, LinkedIn included. And you can also subscribe to our newsletter to stay updated on all the cool initiatives we are working on alongside the Spix Foundation and a number of our different alliance members.
Thank you, Effie. If you have suggestions for the next Digital Courseware report or session, webinar, please let us know. Really important topics. Again, want to thank Jim, the Spix Foundation, and all the presenters that we had today. What about a round of applause, or whatever your emoticon is, or sending a gift card to the AI that was taking notes. It's always important to applaud the AIs. And then we'll stick around. We'll close the recording. And for another 5-10 minutes, if anybody just wants to talk about other stuff, we'll be available and invite our Spix Foundation colleagues and Respect colleagues to also stick